Welcome to the Pop Tower Podcast with your host, the man behind the myth, Peter Dawson, and the Soulful Lordy, James Bullock.
Yes, it is the Pop Tower Podcast. I am Peter W. Dawson.
And I am James Bullock.
And you know what? We're not going to let it go. Like, just simple as that. We're not letting it go.
We're not.
No. It is episode 64, and we are talking about video games, and we're talking about movies. I wonder what movie we could possibly be talking about.
It feels like we need a summer movie. A good old-fashioned summer movie to talk about.
Yeah. No, this one kind of feels like one, even though, you know. So we're going to talk about two video games this week, because we got a couple we got to catch up on.
Yeah.
And, oh man, these have both been pretty highly anticipated, I would say.
I was about to say, I would say that they're probably two of the more highly anticipated ones, I think, for us personally, that we had this year.
Yeah, and they were pretty anticipated in general.
Right.
I mean, I know some people were like, hey, do you actually care about this? And they were joking about that, but I'm like, no, a lot of people do. Like, I don't know how well either of these have sold. And it's hard to tell.
I'm hearing pretty good on at least the first one. Our favorite director, producer, engineer, mind crafter, whatever you want to call him.
I'm sure he wants Visionary in there.
Visionary. He hasn't been too pleased about the American sales, though.
That doesn't shock me.
Yeah.
But, all right, let's get into this. So first we're going to talk about The Outer Worlds.
Yes.
Which is produced by Obsidian Entertainment, which is pretty much one of the internet golden boys right now, which, as we know, can change in a moment. Like, remember when Bethesda was well-loved?
I was just about to say, it's so ironic, considering what we're about to talk about, how much people used to love Bethesda.
Yeah, and, like, I mean, and Obsidian, of course, no coincidence, is founded by people including Fergus Urquhart, who is one of my favorite developers just because he was one of the key dudes on Fallout 2.
Right.
Which is probably my favorite Fallout.
Yeah, I was about to say, arguably the best Fallout.
Yeah, like that. That's usually my go-to for the best Fallout game. Like, I love 3 a lot. Like, I do genuinely like 3 more than New Vegas, which is one of the ones Obsidian did.
Yeah, which is fun. That one is kind of weird because I think I instantly love 3 a lot more than I love New Vegas, but I think New Vegas has gotten more of an appreciation as the years have progressed.
Absolutely. Like,
yeah.
I think the main things I don't like about New Vegas are just some of the design problems, which they probably could have avoided if they weren't forced to rush it out.
Exactly.
Which is a damn crime, because I wouldn't have any problem liking it, I think, if it hadn't been such a rushed game.
Like I said, from a technical aspect, I think that was the biggest flaw. Like, but from like narrative and choices and everything that you would expect from an Obsidian-headed Fallout, you got it. It's like I said, it was just the rush of it, of working with this engine from Fallout 3, and then trying to adapt in a quick manner. Like, it really, if they just had a couple more years, I think it would have been even more of a masterpiece than it turned out to be, from a critical perspective.
Yeah. But as it stands, Obsidian also produced Pillars of Eternity.
I was about to say, yeah. I think that was like the turning point, really, in the last few years for them, because once the acclaim from both fans and critics came out with that, I think it kind of like boosted the idea, like, hey, Obsidian can do more than just be a Fallout spin-off developer.
Well, yeah, because they got screwed hard on New Vegas' development.
Yeah, well, how much was... I forgot, it was like they were supposed to get a bonus, and they missed it by, I forgot, like, how much?
And it was based on Metacritic score.
Right. It was like by 1 point.
And the score probably was lower because it got rushed out. So there's, like, you know, a lot of... And it was only rushed out because they had deadlines to meet as imposed by Bethesda. So it's like, you know, if you want to say Bethesda's always been a moral company. No, this is one of their more infamous screw-ups.
Yeah, this was the very obvious beginning of the end.
Well, I mean, you could always argue it was horse armor.
Oh my goodness, yes.
You know, it's hard to say what the canary in the coal mine was.
Yeah,
but,
they really opened the floodgates. Like, they started it. We're just starting to really now feel it, and now people are finally pushing back.
Yeah. So as people sit there bitter over Fallout 76, which does have its fans,
yeah,
and it does actually have a solid narrative, but the problem is it's audio log based. It's not the core gameplay.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Ironically enough, like Metal Gear Solid 5, the story is okay. It's fine. The presentation of the story is not good at all.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. I'd still say the story in 5 is better.
Oh no, I'm not saying
in
that
both presentation and yeah.
Yeah, I guess from a presentation standpoint, compared to like Metal Gear Solid's before it, the presentation was lacking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I still didn't understand half the stuff that was going on, but
I know, same.
But we're getting off track, although that is also relevant for later. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the Outer Worlds.
Yes.
Which we brought up Fallout quite a bit because not only is Obsidian the developer, they also heavily marketed as from the creators of the original Fallout.
Yes.
Even though I don't think some of the original developers were attached.
No. I just think it was just
because Leonard Boyarsky, he was one of the key directors, and he did direct the original Fallout.
Right.
Like I think Fergus Urquhart, he was the director of the second one.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, if I'm remembering right. Because I know Fergus was one of the big ones on 2, and he wasn't on 1. Which is why it always led to the debate, is like, because 2 leaned more heavily into comedy and parody.
Mm-hmm.
And so people are saying, oh, it's not a true Fallout game. So just bear that in mind. The sequel, the first Fallout sequel, was being called not a true Fallout game. Like, that's how long people have been debating about whether Fallout games are true Fallout games.
Yes.
So, anyway, Outer Worlds, it has a lot of spiritual similarities, especially with the recent Bethesda Fallout games, because it's also a first-person shooter-type game. But it has a lot of nice features to make it unique, while still having, like what do they call the bullet time, tactical time dilation?
I was about to say, TTD.
Yep, thank you.
Because you got frozen, and now you have special powers.
Yeah, we should get into that real quick before we talk about the rest of it. But yeah, it's an alternate future. Like, what was it? Because Teddy Roosevelt never became president, there was no trust busting. So
no. William McKinley didn't get assassinated.
That's the one.
So now, of course, the mega corporations have now taken over.
Yeah, and so like it's a super capitalist mega corporation future. You yourself were part of a colony ship that went astray, and you were in cryosleep. So probably the most annoying thing about this game for me is just the fact that it starts with you waking up from cryosleep, which is such a cliche at this point for a sci-fi game.
Yeah, and not only that, I mean, we always talk about the similarities of Fallout. I mean, of course, we got the vault. You're waking up from the vault, opening up.
Yeah.
And then, of course, in Fallout 4, we have a cryosleep.
Yep. I mean, at least that was unique because they hadn't done it in Fallout before. But even then, like, it always goes back to aliens.
Right.
or not even aliens, alien. Just because, like, that was the big thing. It's like they wake up from cryosleep, right? And it's like, oh, it's like giving birth, and it's a symbolism, and, you're being born. And, oh, my voice really went out on that.
I know. It's like
much like that movie, my voice suddenly aged.
Yeah, the utter disgust of just this trope being used once again just killed your voice.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, they still do it well, but it is still a very tired trope.
It's still a very obvious, overused trope at this point.
Yeah, I always appreciate when people come up with clever new ways to do things.
Right.
Like, even if it's something like, oh yeah, you're the character from the first game, but you're in a... oh my god. I can't even... But now you're in an unknown situation, and your powers have somehow been lost, for example.
Right.
Like, I always like that one. But in this case, yeah. Gameplay, as a result, like, you're sucked into, what is this area first called? Like, they have a few names for it.
Yeah, I honestly have completely forgotten. There's, like, so many planets.
Because there's, like, the starting colony is Emerald Vale.
Exactly, yeah.
But there's a few planets that I can't remember what the exact terms they use are. I haven't played this game in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, same here. Like, it's one of those things that it was remarkable while you're playing it, but like certain things, I mean, of course, just stereotypical names that don't really leave a lasting impression on you. It's more the actual gameplay than it does the environment, the people that you interact with, and the planet names themselves.
Yeah, But I mean, of course, the main point is you're traveling to different planets because, as you might expect from a spacefaring type game, you're not just on one planet.
Mm-hmm.
You customize your own character, and then you pretty early on unlock a ship which lets you travel to the other planets. It does run into the classic problem of, because you're traveling to different planets, it's like, maybe I should just get everything done on this planet all at once.
Yeah, that's something that I encountered too, was when I started looking at missions. And I kind of wanted to do the missions in order in terms of like, oh, I got this mission, I want to do it right now. And then you find out, oh, I have to go to another planet. Well, I actually have a mission here on this planet I can do right now. So you kind of like breaking up your mission, the flow of the story a lot, and trying to complete everything on this one planet so you don't have to worry about traveling back and forth because, of course, loading screens and just reallocating everything and traveling, and it just gets a little annoying when you have to go from one planet to another.
I'm trying to think what the earliest game that would have done that is. Off the top of my head, I know Baldur's Gate did that a lot with the few towns you could visit.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's like the Baldur's Gate problem. It's like, I don't want to go to this other region yet. And of course in spacefaring, like I know that was a problem in, for example, KOTOR.
Right.
Knights of the Old Republic. Yeah. It's a classic problem, I think, with any space game. So I don't know how you would even get around that with RPGs.
Yeah, without locking stuff too much, or trying to, like you said, isolate the missions to just certain areas all the time. And sometimes that doesn't work at all because, like, if you, for one example, one of the missions that you have to do, you have to try to take over a spaceship. Of course, you have to leave the area that you started the mission at to get to the spaceship. So it's just one of those things.
Yeah, and like, like the ship works as a pretty good hub because it's a pretty good fast travel point. It also acts as your inventory, and it gets rid of the problem that the Fallout games have had, where you want to have inventory storage, but you also want to move around.
Yeah.
And the only one to this date that's allowed for mobile storage that I know of is Fallout 2.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know Fallout 76 recently offered that, but you have to pay premium money for that.
Yeah.
Screw that.
Gotta be an elitist.
Yep. I mean, that's one of the things I liked about Fallout 4 is ideally if you had trade caravans going, you could trade stuff between all the colonies.
Yeah.
Or the outposts, I should say. Which, settlements, I don't know. But even then, that wasn't as good as Fallout 2's car. Just saying.
Very much
In this case, we got something great with the ship. It gives you storage. Your companions can all hang out on there. Classic sci-fi trope in sci-fi RPGs.
Mm-hmm.
And you do have two companions, not just one. Another point in this game's favor. The companions are a bit limited because they just basically have like one super skill from what I saw.
Yeah, each had their special ability that you can activate. Until you get to like a certain point, you have to upgrade your skills to do so. And each one has a special ability. You can upgrade their armor, change their weaponry. But other than that, like, it really doesn't do much else. You can like change. Oh, you want to have them as long range, or kind of like more melee fighters. But other than that, there's really not that much that you can do outside of just be kind of like bullet sponges for you so you don't have to continuously die if you face too many enemies at one time.
Yeah. What I really liked though was some of the simple stuff they did to modify the familiar at this point Bethesda style shooting formula. Because besides the time dilation, which is very much like VATS, we get and we have the three main types of weaponry because you got like your light gun,
your heavy, and your energy.
Yeah, because you can get like plasma guns and whatnot as well.
Yeah.
As one would hope.
Yeah, that was one thing I did definitely appreciate. Like you think about it from New Vegas' perspective of how many different ammo types you had for so many different guns. I love the fact that you simplified it. You have a gun that takes heavy ammo, you have a gun that takes light ammo, you have a gun that takes energy ammo. And if you want to switch them up, you can. It doesn't make it too difficult for you to be able to experience what you want to experience or play how you want to play with it.
Yeah, and what's also nice is they added, because it's a sci-fi setting, they have elemental damage you can do now.
Yes. And that actually ties into the mods, too, because, like, certain mods you can add to your weapons, and, like, one weapon that can be a plasma pistol can actually shoot acidic, corrosive ammo as well, too, if you add the mod to it.
Oh, I love acid weapons.
Yeah.
That's always one of my favorite. Like, I love that in Borderlands, too.
Same here.
And then you can unlock special skills, and some of them are actually pretty interesting. Because they're based on the three main categories. Because you got science, medical, and engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And science in particular is a lot of fun.
Yes.
Like, I know the signature one that we're touting was the Shrinkway.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's just like, You know, because it's that little extra element of bizarreness. Because this game, it very much feels like, you know, a Fallout game with better comedy.
Yeah.
But there are definitely some parts with zaniness that are dialed up, but it's never too dialed up.
Yeah, it doesn't feel as absurd as what you would expect from not only just the fact of how they kind of went with Fallout 2, but also like other games in the genre that have promoted kind of like for example Rage 2, where you got this promotional tool of it's going to be like this wacky wild adventure, and to a certain extent that's how they kind of played up the Outer Worlds before it was released, and it's not that. It's still a little grounded and more rooted in realism, but it still has those absurd moments. And more than likely, it's a lot of times because of the narration of certain characters.
Yeah.
That just makes it that much more funny. Because it's very normal to a certain extent, just eccentric.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's the best way to describe it, because there's plenty of moments that are pretty decently serious.
Yeah.
But you can still have, like, comedic outcomes from them.
Yeah, like
and people react in relatively realistic ways to the comedic elements.
Yes. Especially some of the responses. Like, if you if you get smart with somebody, I love some of the responses.
Oh, yeah, well, don't forget, these are the people that, you know, back in the day when they were creating Fallout, were like, hey, what happens if you change your intelligence score?
Oh, yeah.
So it's,
And don't worry, folks, if you want to be dumb in this game, you can be. And not just dumb in terms of gameplay. I'm talking about if you want the stupidest character possible.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Is there much else to say about this point? The plot's pretty straightforward.
The plot's pretty straightforward. It's not revolutionary or anything. The one thing I will say, and we were talking about just the fact that New Vegas was rushed, in comparison to this, I didn't have a single crash, a single major game-breaking glitch, no mission problems, just a couple of frame rate drops here and there, you know, that kind of stuff. The only real issue I had from a negative standpoint was like the hit indications. Like, there's no rumble feature when you get hit, or there's really no real good indication, unless you're, like, looking at your health bar the whole time to see that you're getting hit constantly from somebody behind you or to the side of you. But other than that, like, from a technical aspect, this game is absolutely marvelous for an open-world experience.
Yeah, no. I don't know what else we can say. Like, it's probably one of the best open-world games of the year, if not the best. Like, I love this game a lot. I don't know if it's going to be my 2019 game of the year. I'm really going to have to sit down and look back.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's definitely in my top 5. I'm kind of biased on one of my, pretty much right now, what's stuck as number 1 for me. But it's one of those ones that I was looking forward to it, and it definitely lived up to the hype for me.
Oh, absolutely. Like, the only thing is, like, because the marketing was kind of weird with the comedy elements, you know, you didn't entirely know what to expect. Probably like I said, aside from the cliche intro thing, like, the only thing that really bugs me is just because of how it's laid out, the length can feel kind of short.
It was surprising. I definitely will say that. I looked it up before I was playing it, when I was like in the middle of it, I was looking it up and I was seeing people saying this, they finished the first playthrough in like a little bit over 20 hours. And I honestly was expecting to put like 40 to 50 hours on just a single playthrough and maybe not even get everything done. And I didn't necessarily get everything done, but if I wanted to, it was like a couple of missions that I just didn't feel even were worth the time. But a majority of the game can be experienced in about 20 hours, which I thought was going to be a lot beefier of a game.
Like, that's probably the one thing, is it's not as beefy as you might think. It's not one of those games where once you beat it, it's like, well, what's the point in playing again?
Yeah.
Like, there's some other really good games out there, but it's like, I don't know if even like frickin' Last of Us. Do you really want to play through the story multiple times?
Yeah, like I said, for me it was
a short period.
Yeah, it was one of those things like, hey, I played it once and I really did enjoy it. I still love the game, and then I played it again with the remaster, and I haven't touched it since.
Yeah.
But thankfully it leaves a positive, lasting impression. Just because you don't feel like playing through it again doesn't mean that it's a bad game or it's an underwhelming game. It's actually a very fun experience. It's just one of those things, like you said, once you feel like you've experienced the majority of it, you don't necessarily feel that intent of going back. But it's one of those things that you should definitely play if you enjoy these type of games.
Well, I've already played through it twice, and
really?
Both. Yeah. No, because the first time I played through, it took me 30-something hours, and I did do basically everything. I think I skipped one mission. The second time I did more of a speed run, and it was like 20-something hours.
Okay.
So that one I did over like the course of a week where I had like 3 days off, and I'm just like, I'm gonna game for 6 hours each day, and then like 2 hours on my
And then one thing,
days.
like with that second playthrough, you know exactly what to do in a lot of ways and stuff that you made mistakes on too, especially like building up your character. So.
Well, yeah, it was hilarious. Like compared to Fire Emblem, where it was like my first playthrough was almost 80 hours.
Right.
And then my second one was still like 50-something.
Yeah.
Even with me skipping a bunch of the cutscenes I'd seen before. Because it was still just like, scene. Alright, now to grind this level. And I wasn't even like doing a lot of bonus content in that case. It was just because I had my professor level up so high so early.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like, this is one of those games, if you've done a good chunk of it already, you may not feel inclined to do some of the other missions again, which is fine. Like, that happens with The Witcher, it happens with, and like, The Witcher was considered one of the greatest, or Witcher 3 in particular, one of the best RPGs of all time.
Yep.
So it's fair enough. But in that case, of course, that game has so many side missions, you just want to try and do different ones each playthrough, because if you try to do them all in one, you will go insane.
I say you won't be finishing anytime soon.
No. But no, Outer Worlds is definitely going to be one of our top games here. It may or may not be our top game.
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of dial down the praise a bit, because this is a hard one to praise for obvious reasons. You really just have to play it.
Yeah. Man, no, like I said, to me, it's one of those things, like, if you enjoyed the 7th gen Fallout games and just want a little bit more wackiness, a little bit more choice to your overall experiences, I think this will be a perfect game for you.
Absolutely. No, yeah, if you're a fan of a free roam RPG and you like a space setting, this is perfect.
Yeah.
That's probably the easiest way to, like, I'll throw some high price. I'll call the game perfect for what it is.
Yeah. It's perfect for its genre.
Absolutely. But let's talk about a game that tried to defy genre. How well it succeeded is, oh boy.
Yeah, it's definitely
Hideo Kojima. As I like to name drop, I have met him before.
Yes, you have. Yes.
It was a very brief encounter, and I basically just said, thank you, Kojima-sensei. Because I thought it was more fun to call him sensei.
Yeah.
And, yeah, in this case... oh, boy. So, ever since the Metal Gear Solid 5 debacle, where it was clear that Konami was kind of screwing with him, and then they kind of locked out his team, and just all this nonsense happened, Koshima's kind of been a pariah, and he's always had a reputation for being an overly wordy writer.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm going to use the word eccentric again for his writing.
Yeah. Because he writes a lot, and you don't always know where he's going with it, and he may not even know where he's going with it, but he still comes up with some really interesting gameplay ideas.
Yeah, it's hard for me to believe he's one of those writers that has the idea of what the end of the story is before he starts writing.
Yeah.
But
like, my mom, who in no way plays video games, likes him just because she finds the horse poop thing in Metal Gear Solid 5 hilarious. And my mom is also not much one for poop jokes.
Right, but it's just one of those things.
So, like, this is really saying something. Like, my mom is pretty much the most, typically wholesome mom you can imagine.
Right.
And she knows who Kojima is. because when I say he's the horse poop guy, she gets it. So in this case, yeah, Death Stranding. Oh, this game. Okay. So Kojima wanted to do a game about the importance of communication and the nature of life and death. That's probably the best way I could describe what the hell's going on.
Yeah, which of course has to tie into what could have been Silent Hills.
Yeah.
Because if we have anything of an idea what PT was, like, we definitely see the influence here. Oh,
absolutely. Like, more than anything, like, the life and death element, well, different than how it probably would have come in Silent Hills.
Yeah.
That's got to be the PT stuff here.
Yeah.
Like, it's ultimately sort of a free roaming, but you do have a destination. Kind of a delivery game.
Yeah, it's a post-apocalyptic delivery game.
Yeah.
That is also a town builder.
Yeah, like that's probably the easiest way to do it, because you're essentially trying to rebuild the world in a post-apocalyptic setting where life and death are basically distorted.
Yes.
Because okay, I'm trying to. There's otherworldly beings, the BTs.
The BTs, yes.
Which are essentially, in a way, like revenants. Probably is the easiest.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. Like there was a big crash that we talk about that they allude to in the beginning, and like pretty much the beings, the spirits that are left over for those people that passed are the BTs.
Yeah, and so to help avoid such a thing, you basically have to incinerate the dead.
Yes.
And as a result, death has become a much more scary thing, because essentially the afterlife is attacking the regular life.
Right, it has actually physical consequences on what is now reality.
And I will, no matter what we say about this game, I just want to say that is a solid way of doing a sort of sci-fi approach to Hell on Earth.
Yes.
I will not say that isn't interesting.
And not only that, from the perspective of just a story and a narrative, but also from a gameplay implementation. As we know, the encounters, for the BT encounters, that could randomly happen at any time during the gameplay, are some of the most intense encounters that I've had in any game this year.
Yeah, like, it's weird, because it's kind of a stealth game, it's kind of an adventure, like, it is sort of an all genres in one game.
Mm-hmm.
Which is something he was shooting for, and he kind of succeeded. There's a downside to that we'll get, but, like, because, yeah, when you potentially suffer a BT attack, not only do you have to worry about the BTs themselves, but you have to worry about the timefall, which is the rain that can potentially, like, deteriorate everything.
Right.
And then, like, also if somebody died and then gets, like, basically dies due to BT, there's an explosion, which can permanently damage the world.
Yes.
And that has gameplay consequences.
Yes!
And what's kind of awesome, too, is, like, there's stuff like you have a portable 3D printer with you, which helps you do stuff like immediately get bridges and ladders and ropes and everything. And there's all kinds of neat stuff. Like, there's a lot of creativity in this game. And, like I said, the whole point is you play as Norman Reedus, who travels with the Norman Reedus fetus named, what was it, Lou? Yes, the baby's named Lou.
Yes. The bridge baby's named Lou.
Yeah.
I just love the fact that Norman Reedus, and like, I just completely blanked out, because I'm so stuck on his actual name of Sam Porter.
Yep. I know. Well, it's Kojima.
It's such a funny name. It's Sam Porter Bridges.
Yep, because Kojima loves his symbolism names.
Yes.
I mean, for God's sakes.
Die Hardman? What about Die Hardman?
Die Hard Man. Dead Man.
Dead Man, yes. And Mama. Don't forget about Mama. It's always always have a Mama.
Oh, yeah. And Fragile.
And Fragile, yes.
One of my favorites, though, is just Mads Mikkelsen's character, Clifford Unger. Who knew one of the main villains of the game would be named Clifford?
Clifford, yeah.
I don't think anyone saw that coming. And also, we have cameos by a gratuitous amount of people.
Yes.
I mean, like, Conan O'Brien's in it. Isn't Edgar Wright one of the others?
Yes.
Yeah, and there's a couple others I'm forgetting. But, like, yeah, and of course, Fragile, Leo Seydoux, sorry.
Yes.
And, of course, one of the major characters is Kojima's, I'm sure, one of his early inspirations, the frickin' Bionic Woman herself, Lindsay Wagner. He is so, like, he seemed happier about that than almost anything else.
I mean, the connections this man has gained over his lifetime that has convinced people, man, I have to work with this man in a video game is amazing.
Oh, I would want to work with him in a video game.
Same here. Like, I'm no one who would love to.
I would be happy to be a guy who, if you speak to me in a hidden vault, you unlock, let's say, the Whirlybird, which is like a helicopter thing that just temporarily lets you do like a double jump.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be my character's contribution.
I'm perfectly fine being like just the jump man. Like, I would be perfectly fine with that.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So the whole thing is, what you're ultimately trying to do is, well, trying to potentially address the problems of the world with the life and death. You have to basically just deliver things. You're a delivery boy.
Yeah, that's
and
all.
What you're doing is rebuilding actual communication connections between the East and West Coast of the United States. And what you're trying to do is avoid, because you're also trying to protect your bridge baby.
Yes.
Which is basically, bridge babies are prematurely born children kept in incubation tubes of sorts. They will probably never, they're not meant to anyway, eventually become proper people.
Right. They're pretty much
they're
just
sort of
stuck in
suspended
the
animation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the idea is that with the bridge baby, you can detect BTs.
Exactly.
And that's the big thing. Like, there's a lot of theories about what a bridge baby would actually be used for, but that's the big thing. And yeah. So as a result, that's basically the crux of it. It's just as you go on, you start encountering Clifford, who is basically, I guess he's sort of a BT.
Yeah.
That's probably the best thing.
Yeah, that'd be the best way to describe.
But he's like an unusual one because he's more sentient and he's
he's more aware of what's going on.
Like if you're being attacked by just general spectral demons, he would be like one of the demon lords.
Exactly.
For lack of a better metaphor.
Yeah.
Like because it's not necessarily like he is Satan, but he is clearly an important dude.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest way to put it. And as it goes on, a lot of other insane stuff happens. I have a joke I use to describe the ending of this game, which isn't entirely inaccurate, but it's also not entirely accurate, and I'm not going to say it on the podcast because it would be a huge spoiler.
Right.
Because it does change how you view certain elements of the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a bad twist, really. It's not the most convoluted thing that this game does. There's some other ones that are incredibly convoluted. Without getting too much into it, I will point out something that, because Sam's mom and Sam's sister are both played by kind of the same actresses, because it's part Lindsay Wagner and part Emily O'Brien.
Yeah.
And there's reasons for that. And they are convoluted as heck. Because you'll note that you are not also Lindsay Wagner and Emily O'Brien, despite Lindsay Wagner / Emily O'Brien being your mom.
Yeah.
Because finally, after 2 games where Kojima couldn't get the mother aspect that he wanted for the boss in Metal Gear Solid 3, he finally gets to do his mommy issues. That was a famous thing with he wanted the boss to be very much the symbol of motherhood.
Right.
And kind of did, because of course the boss, her child became one of the bosses in that game, and it's a weird convoluted childbirth thing. But he didn't get the weird motherhood womb scar that she was supposed to have.
Yeah.
Which also probably would have required her to be partially naked. So that's fine. Anyway, back to Stranding. Probably the game's biggest downfall is just how much there is before the game truly opens up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you will be in episode 3 in this regard, which may not sound that far, into the game, but really...
That's like 10 hours.
That probably would be around the 10 to 12 hour mark for you.
Yeah.
And that's when you really start opening up things, like, that will help, as they say, fabricate, in this case, like vehicles, like little bikes or trucks and generators and stuff that will help make the trips across wherever you're trying to go a little bit easier. As well as one thing that I do, and once again, like you said about having society and communication and everything, as you put these certain networks onto the overall grid, the spots and the buildings and the constructions that have been made by other players start showing up in your world.
Yeah,
when I first saw just a little bridge over a river, it blew my mind.
Right? Like, no, that is probably something that this game does really well. Is just the integration of other players.
Mm-hmm.
In a subtle online way, though. It's not.
It's not 50. It's not 50 Sams running around at one time on screen.
No, and it's not like, oh, this player stole your nuke.
Right. Exactly.
Like, it's a lot more of a reasonable level of, and it's really clever in that respect. Like, it's like I said, like I don't want to just gloss over the 10-hour problem.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Because I mean,
huge problem.
You're grinding, and you're thinking like, what else does this game have to offer?
Yeah, because that's the biggest thing. Is because the first 10 hours it's mostly plot, and a lot of it is setup. So if you're not interested, oh boy, are you gonna be bored.
Yeah, you're pretty much going from point A to point B, and then you watch a good 15 to 20 minute cutscene.
Yeah.
And then you go from point A to point B again, and a lot of times at this point you don't really have much to help you. And of course, like I said, the world hasn't really opened up enough for you to be able to benefit from a lot of the actions of other players. So it becomes very arduous and very annoying to a certain extent, especially if you're trying to get like a great rating, because of course, just like with Metal Gear Solid 5, after every successful delivery, you have a rating system. So if you're trying to get like that S rating, sometimes it may not pan out for you if you end up falling down the cliff and you don't have repair spray to fix that container.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing is, and it reminds me a lot of Metal Gear Solid 5 as well, just with like, because in like the first mission, you could just wait 3 days and a character you're supposed to save in 3 days dies.
Right.
And you get another standard game over. But this game doesn't even do that.
Right.
Like, it's lacking that extra bit of, Kojima planned for that. Which is really disappointing. Because, like, there's one where you have 48 hours to dispose of a body.
Mm-hmm.
But if you wait 48 hours, the body doesn't explode.
No, nothing happens.
That's nonsense. But it still got that signature Kojima creativity. It just takes forever to get to it.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. Bar none, I would say it's a decent game overall. It's got some really clever ideas. It integrates, I think, some of the gameplay elements pretty well. Combat's a little clunky, but...
Yeah, it's a little stiff. It's very much got that Kojima handle to it. Like, even Metal Gear Solid with CQC, like, it wasn't always the most rewarding system.
No.
And the same thing is here. Like, it doesn't feel that rewarding when you get into close quarter combat. But when it comes to gunplay, though, it's a little bit different. I do enjoy throwing things at BTs.
Oh, yeah. No, that's always satisfying. And, like, yeah, like, overall, I'd say it's a good game, but you have to get to it. So it has that Monster Hunter problem where the first... And, like, it's not just like, oh, the first hour is really tedious. No, this is, like, 10 hours. This is, like... Oh, the first season of this show is tedious.
Exactly.
Which is not great for a game when you're supposed to be more actively engaged. Like, I always have more of a problem with when games do that than, like, TV shows do that. Because you can usually still find something to latch onto just with, like, the narrative. And this
right,
case,
and
you
usually,
can.
And like I said, usually with that, it's a situation like 30 to 20 minutes. I mean, 20 minutes to an hour at the most with a TV show and a few episodes.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, you're actively sitting and holding the control and trying to do things.
Yeah.
And you're just waiting for something to pick up that latches onto you and makes you feel like, man, that was worth the wait. And when it comes to that, every time you think you get to that point, especially like when you get past episode 1, you're thinking that, man, I finally hit that moment, and it doesn't happen.
No. Like, that's probably the case. Like, this game won't be my game of the year if for no other reason just how long that takes.
Oh, yeah, same here.
It is a slog.
You have to be in the right mindset to play this game.
Absolutely.
Which, I mean, I know certain games are like that anyway, but there are ones that you can just kind of like jump into. Even, like, for example, we were talking about the Outer Worlds. Like, I can still jump into that. It may not be like a fighting game where I can just jump in, play 15 minutes, be done, but I can still jump into it and find something enjoyable in that first couple of hours compared to this where I feel like I'm being held by the hand for the first 10 hours until I finally realize, oh my goodness, I can fabricate a truck.
Yeah, well, yeah, like basically once you get to Emerald Vale and Outer Worlds, you know, the game really starts to start.
Right. Like, that was that quick opening sequence of realizing, like, okay, this is what the world is to me. Whereas with this, you do not, especially when you get from the East Coast. Like, once you move past the East Coast, you realize, okay, this is what the world is to me, but I'm still being handcuffed.
Yeah, it's pretty disappointing in that regard.
But it's such a unique experience. That's the thing.
It is. It is. Like, this is why it's so frustrating, because you still see a lot of the stuff you would hope to see with a Kojima game.
Right.
Like, you know, I'm not saying he's a writing genius, but he's got that spark of creativity and knows how to usually put some of his more creative ideas in interesting ways. Like, despite all the terminology this game has, it doesn't feel as annoying to me as like some other types, because of course you always have to introduce your own terminology,
Right.
and the terminology can be overly overplayed. Like one of those infamous examples I can think of is the Maze Runner. They use so many of their own terms when they were not necessary, and it's just like, oh my god, we get it. And some of the names just make no sense, and we're like, that's too clever or just too overthought. No, like in this case, like there's some terms that are definitely overthought, like the timefall thing.
Yeah.
That's probably a little like, why can't it just be acid rain?
Yeah.
Oh, because it ages you. It's not acid rain, and we can't trademark that. But yeah, ultimately, I don't know what it is. He somehow, like, if you think about all the ridiculous names Kojima's had in some of his games, it just always still works. Almost always.
There are certain times where I have rolled my eyes. Specifically when you first hear the names.
Well, Die Hard Man is pretty bad.
When Die Hard Man, when he first said that, or Norman Reedus in this case says it, he says it so straightforward. Like, it's such a normal name.
Yep.
And I rolled my eyes. But then after a while, it just became normal. I had no idea why. It just became something that sounds like, okay, actually that would be fine. I would not be upset if someone came to me and I was calling him Die Hard Man.
Yeah.
It wasn't a wrestling gimmick.
Yeah, it's what it is.
It's weird. Like I said, you had to be in the right mindset to play it, experience it. I don't think it's gonna go down in history as much as they put it over as right now. No. I think in a few years people are gonna start opening their eyes to a lot of the flaws, especially if he puts out something else that to me technically will be better than this from a gameplay perspective.
Yeah.
But from just that overall feeling, like you said at the beginning, that feeling of community and society, it's just amazing. Like, it's almost unbelievable to think that he actually pulled this together and thought about this idea and it actually worked.
Yep. But going from something we kind of needed, something we really didn't need.
Speaking of a lack of community.
Oh boy, yeah.
Just when the world was coming together, they decided.
Yes. The 4 elements. Earth, wind, fire, water. And together, they create a 5th, stronger element. Boron.
Yeah. The stuff was from Sequelitis.
Yeah, oh boy. So we're talking about Frozen 2, which is the sequel. Man, it is surprising how long they took to run this out, because we knew they were going to make a sequel almost immediately.
Yeah, once this movie hit that level of just everybody everywhere knows every song because they're playing it all the time.
They're still playing Let It Go on the radio.
Oh, they still play it, yes. The fact is that every girl in America wanted to be Elsa.
Yep.
Like for about 3 years straight.
Yep.
I thought they would have capitalized on it a lot sooner, but I see your strategy now, Disney. You want another generation. You're waiting for it.
Yep. So, what we get is the sequel we didn't need,
right?
Which is trying to establish a few different things, because we get multiple communities, because we learn more about the kingdoms around them. And we also learn about an enchanted forest. And we also learn about the 4 spirits. Which, sure. Cause, like, that 4 elements joke was real.
Yeah.
Because they one of the things I kind of like
it was not a rip on Captain Planet. Just
No, because one of the things they do is they pull from various sources of the 4 elements, which I thought that was kind of clever, because they have representatives of the 4 elements. Like, for example, was it the air spirit is a tornado?
Yes.
But then, was it the fire one's a salamander, which ties into, I can't even think of his name now. Pernices, something like that.
Yeah.
Pernices had like the salamander, the undines or the udines, whatever they are, the slips and the gnomes as his 4 elements. Whereas like there was another one where the 4 elements were just represented by elementals of their own well, element, which is why air elementals use typically a tornado. So like we're going to various forms, because then we got a water spirit, which is based kind of on the Undine, but in this case it was the German one, which are the, what are those, Nickies?
Yeah.
Nixies?
Yeah.
Nickies. Nixies. Which are kind of the shape-shifting water spirits. Can't remember, what was the other spirit again?
Oh, man.
I'm blanking on that one.
Yeah, same here.
Whatever. It doesn't matter too much. I'm just saying, there's some really clever elements in the script.
The cleverest thing they did.
Well, probably, yeah. Because in general, it's like, I don't even know. Basically, something that happened when Elsa and Anna were kids.
Yes.
Or no, it was the grandfathers, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the grandfather. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically caused discord between the spirit world and the human world. So now the Avatar must venture in to bring balance to the spirits.
Exactly.
You know, I'm bringing a Legend of Korra joke in there, but that's pretty legit.
That's really what it is.
It is not the most original plot by far. Like, the ending even feels kind of, huh?
The ending had one of those moments where you wonder why in the world would they make that decision without thinking about somebody else.
Yeah. It's like there's some decisions that are made that are, I don't even know how to, like...
Because we don't want to spoil it. Like, I don't want to make you sound like this is the worst movie we've seen all year, because it really isn't.
No, in general, it's fine.
Right, it's a generally fine movie, but there is a part of this ending that just baffled me.
Oh, I bet I know which part. Look, we don't have to say too much, but it has something to do with a fjord.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I do agree. It's one of those things that they really didn't think about the implications of what they did, which is a shame, because this movie, like I said, has some really clever elements to it.
Yes.
And it also has some convoluted moments, because, of course, what they want is they want the fifth element, which is supposed to be ether, of course, but in this case, it's like, let's make it Elsa. I don't think that's really a spoiler, because once we're talking about uniting the elements, it's like, well, Elsa's got magic. She's going to be the fifth element, isn't
right,
she?
Right.
Well, that's kind of the goal, yes.
What does she do in this story? Oh, of course, that would make sense.
Yeah, no, it's not, you know, I don't consider it a spoiler to say that's the goal. I won't say what happens in pursuit of that goal.
Yeah, what happens after they realize, hey, what she is, but...
Yeah, and they don't reveal this until, like, halfway through the movie?
Yeah, but the halfway point, yeah.
But you could see that coming once they start talking about the
Oh, yeah, you see it coming at the beginning, though. Like, when you start realizing how they're being treated as children.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I will say there were a couple of moments that were actually quite sad.
Yeah.
And there's a character I've hated in this franchise that I was actually kind of sad about when something potentially bad happened to them.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a character I actively pretty much hate. For multiple reasons, but I felt something when something happened to that character. It wasn't the same as when something similar happened to another character in a Pixar movie. Like, that's what I would compare this to, especially since the Pixar movie had more balls, because they usually do. But, like, you know, this is... I will say, this movie doesn't feel like it's trying to be as cute about genre awareness. That was kind of the annoying thing about Frozen. It's like, you gotta engage someone you met for 2 days. I'm like, this is kind of the norm for royalty. I mean, you know, like, I get you're trying to be cute about the 3-day romance thing, but that makes sense in your world, so why are you making fun of it?
They were trying to be a little too meta when it came to the first one, I think, at certain points.
Like, don't get me wrong, the true love saving the day being the love between two sisters, that I liked.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that.
That was good, but because there was that other more questionable genre awareness moment, that one I honestly kind of felt weakened as a result.
Yeah, did you? How did you like the treatment of Kristoff in that one? Yeah.
Kristoff sure is a character.
Yeah, he's something.
He's still here.
Poor dude.
He's still got good chemistry with Anna. It could be worse.
No, I appreciate. I actually do enjoy their relationship. It's built so heavily on his character being that kind of guy that he's so good intentioned, but like everything doesn't work out like he wants it to, as much as he tries. And we've seen it so many times, and it's just old, but they do have good chemistry as characters, so I do appreciate that.
Yep, second best chemistry Kristen Bell's had this year.
Yeah, very much so.
Nothing's beating the Good Place.
No.
And there's these other characters you'd think might cause drama and kind of don't. Like the trolls are back, and they're still dicks. Because the rock trolls are like, they're gonna be those guys that even if they do like Frozen 14, are still gonna be like, oh, they're a-holes.
Yeah, they're never changing.
No. Because I mean, considering how society views trolls in both a literal and computer sense.
Yeah, from a social media perspective.
I think trolls are gonna be that one group that we always think it's acceptable to make fun of.
Yes.
Yes, and then the troll arose before our heroes and shouted, "Rah! Women can't be Ghostbusters." There's a very fresh take on a movie I almost forgot existed.
Oh my goodness! Don't worry, we'll be back.
Yeah, it's gonna happen at some point. But no, like brass tacks, this movie's fine.
Yeah, it's wonderfully average.
It did not need to exist.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I really like besides, like, the reason I talked about the element thing so much is I thought it was kind of an interesting way of doing it. Because you could see the source of, like, every different interpretation because we're talking about kind of a universal concept. Yeah, Into the Unknown's a really good song.
Yeah.
That's probably the other thing fair to say.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that stuck with me. I will agree with that, yeah.
That's to me, probably the breakout song of this movie.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, there were a few breakout ones in the original, and the original probably has the better soundtrack overall.
Yeah, overall, I think it was one of those moments where a majority of the songs, to me, it was like kind of like just background noise to see how good the CGI and the animation was. Like, just the way they performed during these songs, to me, were a lot more stellar than the songs themselves. In this movie compared to the first one, where it was like a perfect blend.
Yep. Just trying to think if there's a good ice pun you can make with Panic at the Disco, but I got nothing. Because they sing the end credits version, but
yeah.
Of course I much prefer the one with Idina Menzel, for obvious reasons. And Into the Unknown in general is probably like,
it's a standout song.
It's the kind of song I would hope. It's like I have a niece who's now 7? Yes. I'll tell you. Look, I've got 5 nieces and nephews. I'm gonna lose track, and that's not even counting the kids my cousins have, which I still sometimes interact with.
Yeah.
It gets confusing.
It's there. It's Thanksgiving.
But like, one of the most adorable moments to me is like how much she loves the movie Moana.
Okay.
Because she'll like at one point she was at my parents' place, sitting out looking at the ocean on a rock, and she just started singing that Moana song.
Oh.
And I'm like, I really hope she potentially does something similar with Into the Unknown.
Oh, cool.
You know what I mean? Like that would be, as much as that is Disney, taking over our lives.
Yeah.
That would at least be precocious and be like, you know what? In that sense, I welcome our new dictators. our new. They're not even really new dictators anymore.
I was saying, you can't really say it's new. You realize how many songs we were singing as Disney from Disney movies during the 90s.
I still sing Stand Out.
I was saying, man, for goodness sakes, The Lion King the soundtrack was pretty much our soundtrack for all of elementary school.
This is true. One of my favorite Achievement Hunter jokes of all time is just at one point when he's like, "Give me some Lion King," and he immediately starts singing "Circle of Life."
Exactly.
Like he just knows. If you haven't seen that, I got to show you that later.
Oh man, like that's how it is. So I have no problem with that. We need strong characters and role models in our lives to help our young people.
Right.
Songs, movies that just pop out. I'm just a girl.
All right, I think we're done with Frozen 2.
I will never let that go.
Damn it, James. Take some advice from Idina Menzel. She's a national treasure. But, yeah, no, Frozen 2's fine. You could do much worse.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
I consider it better than some of the freaking remakes we've gotten this year.
Oh, my goodness, yes. A.K.A. The Lion King.
Anyway, so I think we're just going to wrap up, yeah?
Yeah. No, like I said, solid movie. Like I said, it's perfect timing. You know, kids get down for the holidays, and good time to go to the movies and check out Frozen 2 and get a song stuck in your head for the next few months.
Yeah, and it could be worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, on that note, yeah, definitely. Like, Outer Worlds is great. Death Stranding's fine.
Yeah, Death Stranding is weird.
You just got to get through it.
Yeah.
Frozen 2, like, yeah, we started with the best, and we just kind of...
Yeah, we went down. This is one of those ones where we went the opposite direction. Where we started with the best and went downhill from there.
Yeah, it is, yeah, Frozen 2 is probably the worst of these, even though I still don't think it's bad.
No, I don't think it's bad at all. It's just,
no.
You know, it went from great to goodish to mediocre.
Yeah, and I'm sure somebody will find it empowering.
Yeah, very much so.
I mean, I found out people get empowered by the most even things I don't think could in any way be empowering. So it just goes to show, you know, hey, it's got its place.
Yeah.
All right. Well, until next time, folks. Just remember to always bridge your baby. I don't know.
No. Just drink Monster Energy. That's all you need to do. Just drink Monster Energy.